Ready? Go!
Hello, you all. I am back with another review. Um, it's about walking around a house. I played and reviewed Blueprints. It is a new game from Bomb, which is an indie studio who I think this is their first game. Pardon me. I'm pretty sure it's their first game. Anyway, um, and yeah, they made something really interesting here. We'll get into it a little bit. The game mostly works. I think it's pretty brilliant a lot of the way, but there is some frustrating elements when it comes to the actual I don't know, the actual structure of the thing. I kind of got caught up by the end, but it's not unforgivable. It's just kind of the nature of the beast sort of thing. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this game. So, a little background. I heard about this game from Giant Bomb. It's been turbulent there in the last month or so. And that's something I want to talk about at length too, I think. But I heard about it from Jeff Grubb and Dan Reichert on their podcast, and they were talking about Blueprints and how much they were enjoying it. I'm like, I've never heard about this game. Um, I saw it released on Steam and it came out on Game Pass and then the PlayStation Plus Extra or something like that, like one of the higher tiers, on the same day, like of release for consoles. So I played it through that on PlayStation 5, PlayStation Plus, the third tier I think I'm subscribed to. I know, money bags here. Um, but it was a good way to play this game. And yeah, I guess we'll start by just saying this. I'm going to kind of crib for my review that I wrote on Substack because it's kind of my thoughts encapsulated. It helps guide me a little bit instead of just rabbit holing here and there. To be honest with you, so I think Blueprints is really close to being a perfect game. Like it really feels that way. It's when I say close, I mean it's like the distance between your fingers before they touch. Like it's that close. The issues I have are larger than that for sure. But like I don't know. I'm not smart enough to do it, but I feel like with a few tweaks, this could be I don't know. It could be even better. I really do. But by the time I finished it, I was pretty satisfied. I wasn't looking to solve everything in the house that you kind of venture in. Um, but I did enjoy the mystery and uncovering what I did uncover. Um, while I played it, I just feel like it has to do more with the game's design. I didn't want to engage with anymore than the mysteries they had hidden in each room's layout. It's one of those games you play in your head. I personally bring this up all the time on podcasts. I love this genre of game. It's kind of a new-ish thing, where you're like, I don't know, like information is power. That's what it feels like. In games that fit under this sort of subcategory of puzzle game is like Outer Wilds, a particular favorite of mine, Return of the Obra Dinn, Chance of Sonar, which I haven't finished. I would like to go back to that thing. It was really cool from what I've seen. I love language and diction, and this is all about uncovering syntax between peoples and understanding social constructs with language and class and race. Um, yeah, and another one in this kind of genre is the case of the Golden Idol. And in more of the puzzle way, The Witness is kind of here too, where you're kind of playing it in your head before you engage with a puzzle. Those types of games kind of fit here. Games where knowledge is truly power. That's kind of what I think. Um, yeah. So yeah, it's you kind of do this like cerebral calculation of the information you're getting to kind of further your understanding of what's happening in the game. Um, but just like knowing things isn't enough. You got to know where to apply that knowledge. Yeah, and like information in this game and games like it, they're currency. So like knowing how to use it well is just vital for you being good at this game. It can become a permanent addition, like your knowledge, if you know how to arm yourself well. The more you know and can do with the information you've gathered, the more you can affect the state of the game and the mechanics. Um, yeah, it's something I feel like is even sometimes as my physical skills playing games start to wane a little bit. My mind tends to be a little quicker and sharper with age. And so I feel like I've really latched onto puzzle games and have started to enjoy playing the kind of more soft and I don't know, more what's the word? Like it's the games that you can interact with on a intelligent level. I'm not saying some games are dumb. There's definitely dumb games out there, but um, yeah, it's very satisfying to kind of like pull at this ball of yarn that games give me these days. It's become kind of one of my favorite types of genres when it comes to playing video games. Um, and yeah, like I said, I think my tastes have just matured a little bit. Um, you know, in my review, I remarked I might take up crossword puzzles like a true old one day because of this, because I like finding out a solution and solving a problem, and that's kind of what these games are. Um, the name is interesting of this game, Blueprints. It's a double entendre, honestly. In both the story and the design of it, the name of the game refers to two different things. The first meaning is a literal meaning. It refers to who you play as, Simon P. Jones, who's the young heir of Mount Holly, this mountain estate. Um, Kind of in this lineage of this kind of camera production magnate, this kind of old money guy named Herbert Sinclair. Um, and the second meaning of the word or the name has to do with the core mechanic of the game, which is the drafting system or selecting blueprints, like Blueprints, like blueprints for your house. It's a clever name. I'll give it that. Um, as things kind of unravel with the core mystery, who you are, what role you're playing, and kind of like the landscape of the house changing, it continues to become clearer and clearer what the name of the game means. Um, and the story is very, very, very engaging. The story starts where you're the soon-to-be inheritor of the estate from your late great uncle Sinclair, um, and he resided on the property for a long time, pretty much his whole life until his recent death. And when you enter the house, like it's the start of the loop. We'll put it that way. You find yourself in the main hall of the house at the start of the game every day. And lying on a round table at the center of the room is a note penned by the late Sinclair in his hand. And in this note, you find that he's bequeathed the entire property to your character, along with all the possessions and land that the house sits on, with one stipulation: you have to make it to the 46th room of this house, this huge, ever changing house. You have to find the best way to get there. And once you've done it, all that's been promised to you will be earned, and everything that you can see that belonged to Sinclair would be yours. It's a really engaging like start for the story. I think the writing here is very strong. It pulls you in pretty quickly with um, you know just telling you right out that you're going to get something cool if you solve these problems. I really like that. The story is really interesting. I feel like the backstory itself could be a game uh, that's a spin-off or a movie or something. There's a lot going on there. It's a fascinating like world setting and cast of characters. And there's lots of ways to figure out what's going on. Like there's lots of notes and directions for house staff and little memos, little post-it notes, kind of jotted everywhere. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Um, there's like a bunch of like dark dealings. There's a lot of conspiracy stuff going on. Politically, there's a lot of crazy things happening with like racial tensions and inequality. There's kidnappings, and one of the most crucial parts of the story is there's a huge heist that got planned, that's integral to the kind of origin of the house, and where how things are how they are in Blueprints. And from what I was able to glean, it I found that it was really well told, and it was super satisfying. It was just really satisfying to find out pretty much everything. I don't think I've seen every room at this point. I have been to every room. I think I've seen all the story bits in the 16 to 17 hours it took me to finish it. Um, but yeah, I think I got it. I think I got it. It's tough to know. Like it's not a congruent story. I mean, you're finding things kind of out of order, right? But once the literal quote table setting has been done, you begin your run. So each morning you start a run with a budget of steps. It's located in the top left corner of the HUD, and think of this as sort of a movement currency. We'll think of it like that, if you will. Every time you cross a threshold of a room, a drafted room, a step ticks down from that counter, that kind of bank account of steps you have in your top left corner. And once you run out of steps in a given day, your run effectively and automatically it just ends with you become exhausted and you fade out to a stat screen showing your day's progress in exploring the manor. And you have kind of like this campsite you kind of reside in while you're solving these problems and kind of the mysteries of this house. At first, that whole budget system can be really stressful, especially in the early game where you're trying to get your bearings, because you're always wanting to keep an eye on that thing. But yeah, I think it really works because there's different ways to mitigate that in the future. It's really smart. I think limiting the player with movement makes them makes them make harder decisions on how they want to spend their day, like where they want to go, what they want to do, what they're able to do in a given day. Um, Sometimes even drafted rooms you choose will add or subtract steps depending on its quirk to that counter, right? Gamifying traversal is very novel. I've never seen this in a puzzle game or even a regular game. I think it's one of the freshest things about blueprints on a purely like game design level. I think it's really fascinating, kind of what they do here. And like I said, there's way to regain steps through careful selection of rooms. You can purchase like this like food throughout the house from either the kitchen. You can find it laying around as an item, and there are consumables that add steps back to that counter. And you can even make meals that add different perks. Like when you eat this morning breakfast, a special room will show up in your drafting potentialities, I guess. Um, and yeah, each fruit, like a banana, apple, orange, whatever, will give you different steps awarded for eating them. And like I mentioned, drafting different rooms will give you specific gifts for doing so. So there's ways to keep a run going if you know how to maximize that step counter. That's like the first building blocks to understanding how to move around the world of blueprints and the house, right? It's that push and pull of the step counter that makes blueprints specifically really interesting. I think, in totality, between like each day or run, you end up all around the house for hours. I mean, combing over every little bit, like with the finest toothbrush, right? Anything could be a piece of information. Like you never really know, and like writing things down is paramount. It turns out. I mean, you read just tons and tons of notes from the people who lived and worked at the estate over the years. And you're trying to glean tiny bits of information as you go, but you never quite know what is pertinent, what is not. But what I found is every note is vital and purposeful, or else it wouldn't be there. I mean, you don't know quite when a piece of information will be important. I mean, you can learn something 5 hours in the past and it'll come into play as you draft different rooms. Like having a kind of like note handy is vital to kind of keeping everything straight, I think. In the early drafting rooms, little notes appear from the owner's hand of Mount Holly, and like it'll give you tips and tricks on what to do and what not to do. There's like a library where you can pick books that will show up in another run to kind of tell you the goings on and how to draft correctly, and where to find things and what to expect. Basically, arming you with knowledge. That's all it is. I mean, the game you could beat it in run really if you tried. But the whole thing is that there's every piece there to get a run done. It's just that you don't know how to do it. That's really what it is. The most important part, I think, of the early game in drafting rooms and all that stuff is this. Like the most important thing is taking notes. I think initially I scoffed at that idea. I was like, I don't need to keep track of shit. I don't need a journal for this stuff. I keep it straight. It's whatever. It's folly. I was dumb for thinking that. Keeping track of all that information is, just in your head. It's just tough. I recommend keeping some notes because you just never know when it's important. It could even be just something that jogs your memory, like just something. When I finally gave in, it became such a help to me. I can't even tell you. Like shelving that info for later was super crucial to like my last runs of the game. I was like, I was kind of like combing the game, going like, "Oh, am I missing something?" I'm like, maybe I had this piece of information kind of lying in my notes. Maybe that could help me. And sure enough, that happened before. Um, just swallow your pride on that stuff if you kind of balk at it and write those little reminders. It's going to help. It really will help. Um, yeah. And as the layout of the house change, the rooms do not change for their like story related stuff. Like the items in it will change, where they're placed and um, what is in there, right? But besides your currency of steps, you can collect these items that you'll need to progress in a run, basically. So there's a bunch of items you can get. There's like keys, there's gems, there's like utility items like sledgehammers and metal detectors, key cards, whatever. Random things hide in each room while you select them in the drafting phase. And some rooms will show you how much of a given item you can get in each room when you pick them. Like there's like 3 or 4 presented to you at any given time as you kind of click on a door to head into the next room. Um, and yeah, gems and keys are by far the most useful of these things. Without like a lot of each, you're not going to go too far in a run. I found. Um, but yeah, as you rise up the map, there's like 45 empty titles, not including the 46th room, which is always at the top of the kind of grid map you'll see. As you reach like the second half of the map, you'll find that doors require keys or gems to progress, either by drafting or like doors are locked as you progress. Like once you reach like halfway up the map, it'll be yeah, it'll change, right? And you'll have to start unlocking things. If you run out of these, either by spending them or not being able to draft rooms that include these items, you'll basically lock yourself out of being able to draft rooms. It's kind of annoying, but like understanding what you need at any given time, like if you just need currency, if you don't have the currency, then it's not good for you. Like you have to have an ample amount of things to be able to get stuff done. Um, you just lock yourself out at some point. So it's a matter of having a balanced drafting strategy for rooms in between the progress, quirks, and items. It's just all these things are just really essential to completing a run. Um, and I think the most valuable information for someone drafting rooms is, and this is something I worried about too, is like, oh, am I picking the right things? It kind of doesn't matter at the beginning. You kind of need to just see what's going on. So I wouldn't sweat picking like quote the correct rooms, at least initially. I think it's not as important. Um, but until you have enough knowledge to traverse the house, um, once you understand what's a good and bad room, doesn't matter early in the early game. The only way to like learn what's in there is to pick a room and just see what it's got. It's all random what you get anyway. I mean, you're really just trying to discover the quirks of the house until you can understand the best way to go about finishing a run, right? If you don't know which room to draft, just always draft a room you've never seen. That's the best way to do it, I think. Huh. It'll equip you with new ways to go throughout the house, and it'll allow that new room to be drafted more often in your quote deck, as it were. Um, and yeah, before each door, you're given a random assortment of rooms to pick from, and it populates the threshold beyond. Basically, this mechanic is like the main thrust of drafting, and it like basically maps out your day. Given like you kind of have to do the luck of the draw, and there's some items that you can get that will let you re-roll or convert re-rolls into like paying for gems or keys or whatever. Like there's different ways to spend the currencies you get and the items you get to get better rolls for different things you're kind of aiming for. Um, at the end of the day, though, it's extremely RNG dependent, random number generator dependent. Like there's a degree of random stuff going on, right? Um, in the later game, like drafting rooms well is essential to being able to do what you need to do in a given day. Having good strategy is like paramount to having a great run. But until you like know what you're looking for and what you want in a room on the floor plan, it's like it's tough to plan out that sort of idea of where you're going in those early stages. I mean, you just kind of need to just see everything. Um, and I will say it, just picking rooms that you've never been before, it leads to a lot of eureka moments. Um, but I this is my main gripe of the game. I just think it's very random nature leads to just as many frustrations by the end of a run. It's not like perfect. This whole system, it's pretty messy, I'll say, but it's prone to having many strokes of genius because I think that this what you're finding in a given room and like finding good stuff and understanding more of what you're looking at is fun. It feels like you're discovering something, right? I do think the game design works more than it doesn't when it comes to the random elements, but I don't think you can have this good without the bad. Unfortunately, because these things are two sides of the same coin. You know, I think they're both. It's just the nature of the design. Like you're just going to get good runs and bad runs. Like that's just how it goes. Um, but there's always an opportunity to do well if you know what you're doing. Without this like random mechanic, it's just not as novel. This rogue-like mechanic, roguelite, whatever you want to call it. Without this, the blueprints is just another walking simulator, I think, with a good story. Having this random element makes things a little bit more interesting in your day to day. Um, the core mechanic of randomness is pretty thrilling sometimes, but it like I said, two sides of the same coin. It's its biggest weakness too. I think that's probably my main gripe about the game. I mean, once you establish a sort of base of knowledge, what you need to do, where you need to go, what to draft, either based on directions, synergy with adjoining rooms, or even items that you can pick from in each room, the design of the game fights against a well-equipped player as the game progresses, and that's super frustrating. It was frustrating for me. There's a million things that went wrong in some of my final runs, and it was just I think I just chalk it up to bad luck, honestly, when I think back about it. But there was a lot of times, especially in the quote final run of the game, when I knew what to do, where to go, I just had to have things land my way, and I needed specific things to happen, whether it was like an item to show up or a floor plan to populate that'll get me to room 46 or even a mechanic to be present where they just didn't show up, you know? Um, accomplishing the goal of getting to that room became really tedious because of the inherent RNG nature of the game, you know? Once I knew what to do and where to go, all I could hope for is literally for luck to be my landlord. Like that's the best way I could quote my feeling about the end of this game. I had to hope against hope I would get the right rooms with the right items to show up in the final run, quote unquote. Um, and there was a point around like the 13th to 14th hour of the game where I just kind of had to step away from it. I thought about like deleting it. I knew I was close, but I was just like I thought I was so close to finishing it. I was like, okay, they basically fucked me out of finishing the game. That's not that's not what happened. Um, it was more of a roadblock when I thought it was the final destination. Really, in reality, I wasn't as close as I thought. But it did unlock a vital piece of information for the final run that ultimately helped me beat it. Right. I use this example specifically to kind of show like how heartbreaking a run can be to kind of end after you have everything go the right way. You have everything at your disposal you need to get something done. Just one or two things just don't happen. You need a lot of things to happen to do it. Getting the perfect run is really hard because there's a lot of variability with all the game's mechanics and things showing up and what rooms you're drafting. Like the random nature of it is, like I said, two sides of the same coin. There's good and bad. It's the greatest thing about the game, and it's the most frustrating thing about the game as well. Um, but I think it's a brilliant game. Like just like in its genesis. I think it's just a brilliant idea, and it's a brilliance and like accomplishment. I think only a few games can capture. It's a rare thing to see in games these days, where they're empowering their players and making them smart and making them feel like the smartest guys in the world. It's super rare to see that. But when those games come around, like an Outer Wilds or whatever, like it's super special. And I feel like even with this game's drawbacks, like that kind of it has to be there for me. Like the revelations you were getting in the game, you're like, holy cow, this is insane. Yeah, kind of just the ends. It's a very mechanics laden game, so that's kind of why I'm talking about it this way. Like the story is really good, but I think the mechanics are the most important thing about it. I loved Blueprints, I really did, but I also like hated it at some points. I was very mixed by the end, and upon further reflection, I was like, you know what? I had more fun with this thing than I didn't. I think it's pretty excellent in a lot of ways. It took, like I said, it took me around 14 to 16 hours to finish the final run. The last couple hours were pretty tedious, a very big slog. But I was stoked to reach the end of that thing. I mean, once it's run based, like once you beat it, they're going to have different challenges to unlock, trophies or achievements, whatever you want. You can even play it endlessly if you want, do these challenge runs, whatever. Um, but personally, I felt like I was okay. I was good just finishing that thing and being done with it. I did enjoy myself most of the way through, I will say. Most of my time spent with the game was very positive, but you know, I'll freely admit that the major issue I had with it ultimately colored my possession of it by the time I finished, like, or my perception, I should say. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how I feel about blueprints in general. It's really good. At its best, it's like a triumph in this genre. It's one of those few games that like stands alongside that core group I mentioned at the top of this review. It's a gorgeously rendered game, beautifully crafted world and setting, and it's got a really good, heartwarming story with like truly brilliant writing to guide the whole thing. I think it's super special in the writing department. It's the most captivating thing about the kind of storyline is how well characters are written, story plot points are conveyed, that sort of thing. I'll say this: if you can stomach the large hurdles the game asks you to kind of jump over, I think you'll kind of come out of it with the same idea that I had, where you think it's brilliant, but it's not like perfect. Um, I think it's a can't miss game if you're a fan of this genre. It's a huge achievement in like narrative excellence and design, and it's got a lot of mechanical complexity that's rare and that actually works most of the time. It's a triumph of the puzzle medium, like the genre. Like I really feel super strongly about what this game does right. It almost trumps my negative feelings about it. Um, at times it's super frustrating. It really is. But the journey, well traveled, is worth it. It felt worth it. It was a satisfying conclusion, I think. I was very happy to just be done with it. I mean, in a good and bad way, right? Um, and I'll kind of just read from the review here. Like, if you can arm yourself with the knowledge to conquer its manic happenstance, you'll find that beyond each door of blueprints, there's a world to discover behind it. That's the best encapsulation I can basically say about this game. Like it's a very special thing. It's the inherent excitement of opening up a door and not knowing what you'll find, and arming yourself with the knowledge to be proficient at finishing it. I guess. Um, I recommend this game like really highly. I really do. I think it's worth a shot for a lot of people to play, and for good reason. It seems like it's a very popular game. A lot of people are playing it. Even now, even with the with Claire Obscure coming out and stuff, it really caught on in a more major way. That was really exciting, and I think it works like 80% of the time. I really do. Um, Even if you don't play these types of games, I do encourage you to play it. I think you'll be glad you at least tried it because it is if you get nothing else from it and it might not be your cup of tea, it's a very interesting game. Very interesting. And yeah, I really like Blueprints. I recommend it. I really do. Hang-ups aside, I think the brilliance trumps my gripes, you know? more often than not. And yeah, that's Blueprints. That's what I think about Blueprints. It's a new video game, brand new video game in stores everywhere, digital storefronts primarily. I don't think it's even a physical game. It's just a digital game. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, that was a good. It was a good time. I'm glad I finished that thing. I understand what the fuss is about. People were saying like, "Oh my god, this is the best puzzle game I've ever played," and I'm like, really? And it's not the best puzzle game I've ever played. It's a very, 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 very good one of those that I really loved in a lot of ways. Um, but yeah, once you kind of get on its own terms, and you go like, you can't have one without the other. You'll kind of get what it's going for. But yeah, that's Blueprints. Check out more of my reviews coming your way. I got a Space Marine 2 review coming shortly after this, and I'll be reviewing Star Wars Outlaws and Clair Obscura Expedition 33 at some point too. That is a killer game I'm going to be waxing poetic about, I'm sure. And I hope you'll listen to them. But as of now, thank you for listening to this. Thank you and goodbye. Keep gaming.